Welcome to Mark D. Maker. This video is for the dogs, the hound dogs. We are going to be making a pattern of a hound dog. We're going to develop this pattern just through pictures and other media. We're going to find pictures of hound dogs. We're going to create our own pattern, both side and top. We're going to make clay models to see different ways we can do it. And we're going to transfer that pattern to a wooden block, cut that out, carve it. We got a lot ahead of us. So come on over to the workbench. Let's get started. This is Mac. My brother and his wife were kind enough to send a bunch of pictures of their hound dog to us. And we have really good both profile and upper views here. We'll use these pictures as a reference for developing the pattern. Now, I did use a lot of other media and pictures of like dog breed books and pictures available on the internet. But copyright is a funny thing, and I don't want to violate any of theirs, so I'm not going to show their pictures. So here's the pattern that I came up with. You can take a screenshot of this. This is going to be open use. All I ask is that you subscribe, and then you can use these patterns for whatever you want to use them for. Let's say free. I would actually like to see carvers use this and come up with their own version, kind of like a challenge. Let's see what the wood carvers of the internet can do. Now, these are 1, 2, 3 blocks. These are great. 1 inch this way, 2 inches this way, 3 inches this way. It's a machinist block. It's precision. They're inexpensive, and they will help you with numerous things. If you're a hobbyist or a carver or a creator, these are great. They're heavy, so you can use them as a weight. Here I'm just using it perfectly 90-degree angle there. I found it stood up better at standing up like that, but this will give me perfect 90-degree angle against the pattern, the upper pattern, which is laying flat, and the side pattern. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to glue the profile to the upper pattern, and I'm going to build clay around it to see if this pattern will work. Now the upper pattern, the profile is a given. That's going to work. That's literally a drawing of a dog. The pattern, the upper pattern, is the tricky part. Getting these lines lined up. Here you see I'm coming off the tail with the reference mark to the tail on the upper pattern. And here where the ear is, here where the nose is. Getting the proper shape for that is tricky. It's a little bit tricky, and it's just chipboard off the back of a desk calendar. It's a little bit stockier than plain old chipboard. Here's the back of my calendar, and I just save those and chop them up and make patterns out of them. They're free. I use desk calendars. Maybe a little old school, but that's what I use. Now you see I'm adding clay onto it. It's glued in place, so it ain't going nowhere. And I'm just trying to get the clay to stick to it. And you just smear it on there, and it sticks. This clay is an inexpensive Amazon buy. I believe it's called Sargent's modeling clay. It It's soft. There's different versions of it. It can get hard, medium, and soft. This is soft. You can ply it, just work it in your hands, and it gets even softer. So it's very easy to work with. And I'm basically just adding clay to it to see if the top version pattern is big enough, if it's going to give me enough wood to be able to carve what I want to carve. So I'm adding the clay, and here I'm trying to keep the center line. So I'm scraping away the clay that is over the center line. So I just come right down to the center line, which is the cardboard. And now my profile is correct. By keeping that profile in line, I'll keep the shape of the dog. And what we're testing out here is just to see if this upper view of the pattern is going to work. This is a little tool that I made, is just like a loop tool, made it out of a Bic pen. Just a piece of wire super glued into the hollow tube of a pen. And here I'm just removing the clay that that I would be removing if it was a wood carving. Coming in different areas, just clearing it out. By the way, if you actually do have a loop tool and they're inexpensive, buy them online or a hobby craft store. They will actually work a lot better than that tool. So here's the 3 models I came up with. And it looks like here the muzzle looked too thin to me. I wanted a little bit more to play with. So in this next one, I made it bigger. And that actually works out a little better. Gives you a little bit more to work with when you're cutting out your pattern, cutting out the wood. It'll give you more leeway. You could put more expression in there. It allows for wrinkles. Old hound dogs are wrinkly. There you can see the cardboard inside still. And here I tilted the head and raised the paw just to see what else could I do. And when we're looking from top down, I added a piece of post-it note paper because if I were to cut out the head in that position, I would need more wood on that side. So you can see how you can manipulate the lower the bird's eye view pattern to get different characteristics, different shapes. You might even take it a little bit further and add a little bit more wood on that one side for that one ear. Now this is a tiny little loop tool that I got at a hobby craft store, and look how easy this thing works. So nice. So you can get that on the internet. Cheap. Well worth the cost. You can see I'm developing it here a little bit more. Just keep adding clay. I still need to add some around the neck there a little bit. On the right now, the right side of that neck is a little thin. And you can see top down how that piece of post-it note would definitely help out that that pattern. And that face is starting to look pretty good. So we're going to use that pattern. I'm not going to do the head tilted. We're going to do the head just straight on for ease of use. I showed the bottom of that pattern where it lines across the bottom of the wood. That's really important for your carving to sit flat. So getting a nice straight line across the bottom of that pattern is important, so strive for that. Now, this is sped up twice the speed. This is a brand new 1/8 inch Starrett bandsaw blade. Brand new, so it's just cutting like a champion. And about this time, I'm starting to realize that this is not basswood. It's cutting like butter. It's just so easy and fast. It is Tupelo. Tupelo is a lighter wood, great for rotary carving. You have to have a really sharp knife if you're going to carve this stuff. It's just so soft. It kind of crushes if you don't have a sharp knife. So the thing with this really small blade, 1/8 inch blade, is you really have to take your time. The gullets of the saw blade are so small that you have to slow down and do these cuts slowly so those gullets can carry the sawdust away. Now I've taped the wood back in to the block. Using packing tape is great. I unfortunately didn't have any here. I used Scotch tape, but that's fine too. Scotch tape, packing tape, or petroleum products, they'll lubricate the blade and help keep the wood from burning. So it's perfectly fine. It won't gum up your blade or anything like that. It actually smooths out the cut. So having a good bandsaw is so important. You know, a decent bandsaw with a good sharp blade. This is almost like puzzling because the pieces come out so straight, even, and nice. Tuning your bandsaw is critical. You watch videos on Alex Snodgrass, just in a phenomenal knowledge on bandsaws. He'll teach you how to set up your bandsaw so it cuts like this. And here we're just finishing up. You see how that just slides out like a puzzle piece. And here's the dog inside. There we go. Fat little guy, but plenty of wood. And that's the important thing for the pattern. So looking at it, looks pretty good. I could have done a little better job on it. You can see where the back feet are. I miscalculated right there, right where that line is. I could have cut that on the bandsaw, but removing that little bit of wood right here is no big deal. That'll carve right off, and we should be in business. Now, the one thing I do regret that I did not dress the back of the blade before I started. You can see those ridges. So everywhere where I turned, there's a sharp turn, you see these ridges. Right along in here, you can see them. So all those little ridges can be avoided if you dress the back of the blade. I have that on one of my shop tip videos. But if you round over the back of the blade, and you can even hold a strop to the back of the blade and polish it, you won't get these rigid cuts that's from the back of the blade, not the front of the blade. The back of the blade is sharp as well. So usually the first thing that I do is put a center line. Well, I always put a center line. One of the first things I do, and it creates symmetry. It makes symmetry easier when you're carving. You carve to the line. I take off the corners. Just makes it more comfortable to hold. And start rounding. Now you can see on the carving there where some of the wood is crushed, and that's because such a soft wood. Now here I use the Dremel, and I use sanding drum, 3 different sizes, the large, the medium, and the small. You can see the large went between the back feet, the small went between the front feet, and I used the medium up around the head and neck. But you can see that this pattern is pretty good. That gives you the basic structure of a hound dog, and then you can hone in and get more precise by working with your reference material and make that dog look like your reference material, whatever your reference material looks like. So I hope you have fun with the pattern. Please like, share, subscribe. I'll see you next time.